Okay, before we start getting into animation multiple cars in the scene, let me first introduce you to my approach to organizing and animation. So right now I will delete all of that stuff because I would like to do everything from scratch. So I will delete all of these sequences. I will delete the path right now, and I will delete the car from the scene. So we have the racing track, or we have the location which you received from other team members, or you made it yourself and need to create some animation here. So I have some scenario in my head right now which I'm going to realize. That would be a short animation with a couple, like 5 shots approximately. And before we jump also into the cameras animation and multiple animations, I will just multiple car animations. I'll just show you my approach for organizing these shots and how to make them. So first of all, let's create the folder for our cinematics. Name it, for example, sequences. And also is a good thing to make the color for this folder because sometimes it's just getting lost and really hard to find if you have multiple folders. I'll just try to organize that. Then I create another folder which I name sub sequence, and here I create the level sequence which will be our main animation. Level sequence drive, for example. In this sequence I will set FPS to 24. You should always make all of your sequences or shots made with the same frame rate. You can make 60, whatever you would like. Just the 24 FPS feels the most like natural when you do the cinematics. When you do some gameplay, probably that would be better. You know, if you're doing the game, you can try doing 60 or 50 FPS. It depends. But in the cinematic industry, if you're doing some commercials, you should match the frame rate to the project frame rate. Sometimes if you have some shots which are filmed on the virtual production, they may be 25 FPS, depends on the region. 24, 25, it's usual stuff. It's rarely 30, 50. It's really rare occasion when it happens with this frame rates. I just keep 24 FPS for this like film look. And in this sequence, I'm going to do the animation. So bear with me for time which I'll be spending right now for creating the animation. I have like pretty dumb idea of creating like some sort of Need for Speed or like crazy stuff with the car jumping in the frame before our like first car moving. So, and that would be like multiple shots. So let's try to put this ramp here. That would be our jump ramp. And let's make it a little bit higher like this. That would be our jump ramp, and our car, the first car, will be just like passing here, and the second car will jump over it. Yeah, I know that sounds pretty dumb maybe, but let's just have fun. That's why we are here, just having fun and creating some interesting stuff. So perspective top, as I mentioned before, and here we are going first to create our pass, which will be our first car driving. So by holding Alt again, I'm moving those points of the spline. Let's make it closer to this side like this, and trying to give, you know, more space between those points, because that allows you to make it a little bit smoother in terms of the car movement. So it's going to drive like this, straight, and I think that would be just enough, right? So that part is fine enough. Maybe delete this part of the spline and maybe put this one here. You can pick the tangent and also adjust it. So I would like to make it like this and move this a little bit around. So this is our like first car, and the second car will be like doing some super crazy stuff. Let's duplicate this path, or no, there are too many points, so probably let's bring up the new one somewhere over here like this, and we will not see this second car at the moment, so we are going again on top. That's just the example of creating multiple cars in one scene and how to approach it and how to make different cinematics and different shots. So again, like this, probably it's just like flying over there, then bam, it drops here, and then it drives like crazy, like supercar like that. So that's gonna be like sort of insane, right? A little bit. And as you remember, our car is always stick to the ground, right? So it sticks on the any sort of surface it tries to drive on, right? And it will immediately drop. It will immediately drop if we try to move it like this. I think the ramp should be bigger because let's put a car back again. So yeah, if it is just here, it is too low. I think that should be a little bit bigger like that. And probably let's give it some also speed here and probably like that. So, but anyway, if we drive our car over this ramp, it will just drop and do this like crazy stuff because it can't define what is the point. This is absolutely normal phenomena. Don't worry about that. For this occasion, we have the special jump ramp. So we can put it here. It also works as the spline. So I even think we don't need this cube because otherwise that's not going to be like legit looking. Let's move this spline over there, rotate it a little bit. You can always change the width of this mesh. Let's go with the 500 just to be sure. And it also works with a spline point. So you can basically create some sort of, you know, curve, like the car is just like flying here, starting over there, right? And then it just like goes further, then it goes more straight, like this arc figure, just to make the trajectory it's trying, you know, to match. Let's see if it is still going. So our spline, the second spline is here underneath, right? And somewhere over here, it's already should start dropping. And we see the trajectory, how like the car should behave in that case. Let's see, did I, yeah, I need to delete this one. I think realistically, that's gonna end up with a different trajectory, but we don't care much about like super realism. If you ever seen any Fast and Furious movie, you know what I'm talking about, right? So it is not about the realism, it's about the show, right? So something like that. Let's see how it looks like. For me, it looks like the proper Dominic Toretto trajectory, which is absolutely not real, and the car will not do that because probably if we have the car just driving like this, it will just drop the nose. So this is gonna be our second car, and if we just test out our trajectory, that's how it's gonna look like. So it will just drop like this. I think that's too much. That should be sharper corner. So let's see. And delete these points. So the car just drops on the ground in that case, because it is, you can rotate it a little bit like that. So it is basically, can drive, because this thing has the collision. So it will be like, whoop, and then drop in on the ground. We can add some more effect to that, just like turning it a little bit, so it will be, while flying, the car will be doing some really cool stuff. It can be tilted a little bit, so like that. So see, and don't worry, this one never renders. It is hidden always in the render, so you will not have any problem with this one. This point is probably just too much. We need to adjust it a little bit. And I think this one maybe is just too high, like even by our unrealistic standard, it's not realistic. So yeah, sort of like that. And if that car drives over, yeah, look here, we need to adjust that a little bit like that. So our car will get on that one. Yeah, probably tilting it. It's a little bit tough. Like that would be better. Unfortunately, it doesn't tilt if you try to rotate the point, but I think we will add this functionality so you can rotate the spline and basically even do the flips with this one. And anyway, so it's gonna drive like that and end up into some serious crash here. I think this one will be better. Like, yeah, that feels much more real actually. I know that the trajectory is probably not perfect. It's just like driving here and bam, boom, and that drives further away. So we can now add our cars and animate the driving sequence. And after that, let's disable auto pitch for this one. We can animate our driving sequence with 2 cars. Let's add our irregular road car, and as you can see, we already have the jump ramp and the BP path, one of them here. So let's add the path number 2, and let's add our cars. So this one and the GTR version. This one we attach to path here and pick the path number 1. And for this one, we will attach it also to the path number 2. Right, cool. And now let's do some simple animation of the car. So it will be just driving and not doing some special stuff. The only thing I would like to change about the driving, that it should go right before, like, so that this car should land right before our car. So probably I will readjust a little bit the spline so we can have a little bit more of action in this scene. So like that. This one should be here and this one should be there. So it will be just crossing that. Okay, maybe like this. Yeah, I know it's not something real, but still, we're gonna have some fun. And now, as I said, let's go for the distance travel, put the keyframe. Don't forget it should be linear at the very beginning, and our shot will be like, let's say 5 seconds for now. And now for this point, we are going to adjust the driving. So that would be driving here. Let's see how fast it is going. Maybe we need to, actually, it's even driving slow. We can increase a little bit the speed. Here, we gonna do this fly thing. The same, we go with the distance traveled, go to the first frame, add the distance travel for our second car, and put the keyframe number 1. That should be also linear. And here it should finish and also should be before our, it should be on the first place. So driving faster than our car is like flying away, and that should be here. Yes, like that, but not so far. The difference should be maybe like this. Okay, cool. So that's how it works. Even though like our thing, like, just we need also to readjust the position of this one or disable this ramp when the car lands, because our first car also goes through this thing. But we don't need to delete this one, hide, or do something. So in order to avoid that, we would need to move this thing at some point of our animation or just align it better. Let's try first seeing how it goes. At this point, we see that this ramp is losing the connection for some reason, because our car maybe is not in the proper place. That also can happen if you have the points which are going underneath the structure. So we can adjust this point, put it up and snap to ground, and it will snap to our object. Sometimes the spline, even though the car is following some sort of structures higher, the spline can force it going down. So see, even now it's already a cool shot. And you need to adjust the spline just in case. You can even like move it higher, this spline. You can put the point higher. See, it's just like changing the distance of the point, and it makes the car follow that. So we can just snap to ground, right? Also, alternative method, if you don't want to use the jump ramp, I just prefer using the jump ramp because it gives the most robust result. You can disable the trace ground, and in that case, even if I delete this thing or hide it, so it will be following basically the spline, but in that case, see, it will not be touching ground. But you can always animate trace ground and disable ground tracing when the car starts flying. But finding this point when it is like losing the contact with the ground can be tricky, and the car can just fall through the structure or fall down, what we don't want. So let's keep the ground trace and see how it looks now. Also, we can animate. I know that's probably super unrealistic, but that's what we have. Anyway, we can animate the transform of the jump ramp. Let's delete the keyframe right now. And when the car lands, basically, we can rotate it a little bit. So in the very beginning, let's set the rotation on the x-axis to 0. So it will be like flat, and the car can actually drive on it like smoothly, like this. Let's put the keyframe for transform. When the car just gets onto that, and just like super smooth. And in this point, we can hit transform to maintain the location. And while the car drives to the very end, we can slightly tilt our platform, the jump ramp, like that, giving it more like interesting positioning, and maybe move it a little bit so our second car will not collide with it, like that. And our second car will do some little bit of turning in mid-air and lose the height faster. So yeah, like that. It feels like it's currently sliding like on the ramp. So if we have a look, so it slides really smooth, and probably it should be going down faster. So at this point of midair, let's put one keyframe here for the second car. So it should fall faster, distance traveled there. And a little bit, we'll move here, put this like cubic, and just increase a little bit of the distance. So it feels like it's getting more of the force there. Let's change this one to the cubic too, so let's see. Or even we can do with the transform of our of our jump ramp and make it go down also with the car like this. So we'll have a little bit of falling. We have some nice slow-mo and then it just like drops. Just like in the movie. Just make this moment longer where it's flying. And now it's just like falling right into the camera. Now it feels more realistic, so it just like flies and then the gravity kicks in. Let's see again. It's actually really cool. And then our car is just like getting into some curve. Look at that. So we have our animation with two cars with a jump ramp. It looks pretty cool. This jump is just like maybe too much. Let's see again. Maybe it's too fast. Let's just divide it a little bit on this point. See how it looks. And this one maybe on one frame here, just to see the difference. Then it's just too smooth. See from the other angle how it looks like. Yeah, it's just too smooth. I think with the platform we can play a little bit more to make it fall also a little bit faster down like that and see how that looks like. Yep, maybe even just a bit faster there. I think that's okay. Now I want our car to drive from the distance, starting a little bit earlier, the first one. So let's make it drive from some of this point. And maybe just a tad bit faster, so I want just this second car land right before its face. So I'll put another keyframe there, make it cubic, so the difference in the speed will not be such visible. And then they will maintain the movement with this rivalry at the same pace. Oh, see, that's what happened. Like, have the transform track, which has been created there, and as you can see, there's just like some wobbliness with the second car. See, it can't turn, so I need to delete the transform track. As I mentioned, never add the transform track when the car is driving on this spline. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Yeah, some Red Bull stuff is happening here. Okay, I think this one is enough for our first animation. Maybe we can adjust some body wiggle during that time, so it will be just like hitting the ground here. Then we can add some drift. Let's go for the drift setting. Drifting here. Add some drifting. From there will be 0. Then it will be just a tiny bit here. Like, let's add the keyframe and drift it a little bit, so it will be like this. So it will wobble. then a little bit back, a little bit more here, and then it just like sets to 0. Let's see how it looks like. Nice. And then we will just gonna show only the fun part, missing the, you know, not showing the, with this some camera magic, we will be hiding all of this. Yes, nice. So we'll be hiding all of unrealistic parts. So anyway, who said it's realistic in the first place? So we'll be hiding some of this movement which we don't find suitable for our video, but otherwise that looks pretty sick. Let's set this for repeat and just like have a look for a few times, and maybe where this ends here, let's shorten it so we can have a look at this place again and again. Yes, 73 frames, looking nice. Let's expand it. So, what I do for cinematics, we have multiple cars animated, those flying around, really cool, looking really interesting, with some jump here, with some jump and crash landing, with some drift. And what's to do in this case in terms of animation? So we have created this subsequence. This is our like insane drive. And here I have the sequences which I will be naming by shots. So the naming shot convention is usually like going ls shot 001. That's like typical naming convention which is used within Unreal Engine. I never create master sequence because between the sequences when they are created, they tend to be rendering some mid-frame, and like it really can spoil the first frame. I don't like it, so I use this naming convention. I open this thing, set it to 24, and if I need to create more shots, I just hit Ctrl D to duplicate. So let's make like 5 shots or something. They will be all 24 frames per second, and this one is animation. It's locked. Okay, I'm happy with this one. I'm not gonna change it. And if I'm gonna change it, I will be adjusting it in this separate sequence. That is really useful if you would like to create some animation which is long. For example, you can take the whole racing track. You can create cars competing each other on the whole racing track. And after that, you can put this sequence. Like if I go in the shot 01 and add track, and I'm looking for subsequence track. I add the subsequence track, add plus, and add ls drive. And I can pick the point where the sequence starts, what is like going to be like. I can extend it obviously, but it won't give me any result because it only matches the frames which I have inside the sequence. But I can have multiple like short shots, pick the point when I want. For example, I want this one and I would like to make like slow-mo shot, right? When it's like flying here like really slowly, and put the camera using the time dilation track. So you can actually use their time dilation track and delay time. Let's move it a little bit here. Put here this thing, just go to the frame 0 here, and then just like up. And at this point, it's going to be like 0.1. For example, 10 times slower. During the render, that will look fine. But the problem is that with the time dilation, you never know what is the amount of frames you have, right? But it's really good, easy tool to work on. The rig actually works with this one. And when you have the slow-mo it will just go like this. It is absolutely insane, and that will work absolutely fine. I really love how it looks, and you can do the slow motion and get back from out of slow motion. So let's go for the first frame again and look at this. So when in simulation mode basically simulates also the render. And if you hit play, that's how it's going to look in your simulation. The only downside is you don't know how many frames you will have by the end of the render, so that can take some time. You can also animate it manually, but time dilation is just so much easier. Yes, in the preview it will look like that because the tick FPS also slowed down 10 times. And if I would like to do any changes, I can just go here inside of this subsequence, change the, for example, I don't know, let's change the pass side offset like to 100 and move it to the right a little bit. So this is what can be done easily, and I just love this approach for animation because you have always under your control what are you doing, and you can create multiple shots with the different cameras for the same animation to make it feel natural. So you don't need to redo the animation, redo the cameras. You just put the animation, pick the part which you like, which you want to see the most, and you will have it during the render in the simulation mode. That would be just looking really, really cool. So the car just like hitting there and flying into the air. And you can do some cool like movements with the camera and so on and so on. So yes, this is the approach I'm taking, and I believe this is really functional and effective.